2004 through 2008 Acura TL radiator, thermostat, and upper and lower radiator hose replacement. I'm Brian Esser from How to Automotive. I'm going to walk you through the steps for replacing all those parts. We're going to get started by removing the radiator cap. And from the bottom, we need to get the coolant draining. So there's going to be a little petcock here. It's right underneath the license plate, dead center of the car. So you're going to need to lift the vehicle up a little bit to get to that. You're also going to need to lift it up a little bit to get the coolant buckets underneath. So once you get that draining and the coolant bucket underneath, we need to remove these plastic covers here that go around the perimeter of the radiator and the left and right side of the car. These covers are held on with plastic clips. You just follow around the perimeter, removing the plastic clips, and then lift the covers off. Once you get the covers removed, you can set those aside. The next step you need to do is remove the battery. So go ahead and disconnect the two cables. After you get the two cables disconnected, you're going to take the battery hold downs off and then set the whole battery aside. You'll just need a 10mm deep socket to remove the battery hold downs. And once you get the bolts loose, you can pull the little, they're called J hooks. You pull those out of their little slots and then set this aside. You're also going to want to remove this plastic tray. The battery cable here is connected in here. You just pop it off right here. Now you can lift the plastic tray and set this aside for now. Now we have access to get to the hoses and thermostat here. The next thing we're going to do is pop this little plastic cover off. There's two little clips holding it on. This one's missing one of the clips. Go ahead and pop those clips out, and then you can pull the cover off and set aside. Now we're ready to remove the two hoses from the thermostat and the water outlet here, the upper and lower hose. So we're going to pop those two off. To do that, you're going to use pliers. I'm using a specially designed hose clamp pliers to squeeze these, but regular pliers work just fine. So squeeze the clamps and pull the hoses back. Once you get them pulled back, there's going to be this little plastic catch here that holds the two hoses together. Go ahead and pop that off and set that aside. Since we're replacing the hoses, I make incisions on them to make it easier to get them off. If you're reusing them, just take them off, and you're just going to tuck the two hoses off to the left. Now on the passenger side, there's going to be the cooling fan here. We're going to unplug the electrical connector. So you'll squeeze the tab and then pull the connector off. So now the wire loom has a little connector that's held onto the fan right here. We need to remove. These can be notoriously hard, so a little tip to get these off or get these unplugged is to use a socket that's slightly smaller than it. In this case, it happens to be a 6mm socket. So I'm going to take this 6mm socket and slide it over the tip of this little wire loom holder here. And as I slide this down, it compresses the tabs and allows you to easily slip it off. So as you can see here, I pressed it over the tip of the wire loom holder here, and it's compressed it. Now you just reach down there and just push it, and it'll pop right out. Now we're going to go back over to the driver's side of the vehicle and pull this air snorkel out on the right side. That's mounted right next to the battery tray there. So go ahead and pull that out. Now we're going to go back underneath the vehicle, and we're going to pop this little shield down a little bit. So we're going to pull out a few of these clips, and then we're going to flex the shield downwards, and that's going to give us access to get to the electrical connector for the cooling fan right there. So we're going to unplug the fan right there, and then so once you get the electrical connector for the fan unplugged right there, there's going to be a couple more spots where the wire loom is attached to the fan shroud. You need to pop that out. There's one just above the radiator hose and then one to the left of the radiator hose. Now I'm going to remove the two brackets that are holding the radiator in. So they're held on with 10mm bolts. So you can remove the one on the left and the one on the right side here. I'm just using a little impact gun to remove that. Now we're going to lift the radiator, fans, and radiator hoses all out as a one whole assembly. As you lift it out, you want to take your time. There may be something you forgot to unplug, which I actually ran across that problem with the AC compressor. So the AC compressor electrical connector was mounted on the right side, or the passenger side of the fan shroud there. So I'm going to reach up there and unplug that and pull it off. And once you get that unplugged and pulled off, and then you can lift the fan and whole assembly straight up like this and lift it out of the car, and then you can set it aside. You want to take your time lifting these out slowly. That way nothing gets snagged on them or caught, and you don't break anything as you come out. So just take your time, lift it up, and then once you get everything cleared, you just lift the whole assembly out like this and set aside. This is that wire loom that I was referring to that was for the AC compressor. So go ahead and unplug that, and then also I went ahead and pulled it off the bracket. There's a little clip right here. You just squeeze it and slide it off the bracket on the fan, and that allowed me to pull it out. Now we're going to go ahead and remove the thermostat here. So there's a couple bolts holding the thermostat on. To get the thermostat off, I used a 10mm wrench, and then I reached underneath and I cracked the bolt loose right here. A shorty wrench worked really well getting to it. As you can see it there from underneath here is a better view. So I was able to crack this bolt free and then spin it out by hand, and then went ahead and took the top bolt off, and then you can take the neck off. If you're having trouble getting the bolt out and won't spin out by hand, you can use extensions like this. So like I'm using a wobbly extension here to get to that bottom bolt to demonstrate for you. So once you get it unbolted, now you're just going to pull the thermostat housing off like this, and then you're going to pull the thermostat out right here. You may need to use needle nose pliers or pliers to pull it out. So I wanted to show you the part numbers that I use for the thermostat. I'll link this up in the description of the video. So now we're going to take our thermostat here and make sure the grommet is on it. And we're also going to make sure that this bleeder vent valve here is facing upwards when we install it. So you're going to install it with that little bleeder screw facing up. So you'll stick it into the housing here like this, and you'll push it in until it's fully seated in there, and then you'll flip the other half of the housing back into position, and you'll start the 2 bolts. So go ahead and start the 2 bolts, run them all the way in until they're snug, and tighten them down. There's not going to be room to get torque wrenches or anything in there, so just tighten them down as tight as you can get them without, you know, feeling like you're going to break the bolt off or anything. So here is the radiator that we're going to be installing. I'll link up the part numbers in the description of the video. We need to transfer over the grommets, the fans, and everything from the old radiator over to the new radiator. So we're going to pull these rubber grommets that were on the bottom of the radiator off and stick them onto the new radiator. So just transfer them straight across. So Milwaukee Tools has sent me out this brand new 2nd generation 1/4-inch hex drive impact driver here. Having tools like this makes a big difference in doing jobs like this. It really does make everything so much faster. I'll leave a link for this in the description of the video. So you're just going to go ahead and remove all the bolts from the radiator fans. And once you get them all removed, then you're just going to lift the 2 fans off and then transfer them over into the new radiator, and then you'll restart the bolts and tighten all the bolts down. So now I'm going to go ahead and install a brand new lower radiator hose. I'll link this up in the description of the video also. So what we're going to do is match it up with our old one and put it on at the exact same angle as the old one. So go ahead and install the new radiator hose on, and then put a new clamp on and tighten it down on the bottom. Also, this little vent line that went to the overflow bottle, go ahead and transfer that over to the new radiator. Now we're just about ready to lower the radiator back into position. So first, what I'm going to do is go ahead and plug the AC compressor here back in. This connector here attaches to the side of the cooling fans on the radiator right here on this little metal tab. So now we're going to lower the radiator back down into position and plug all the electrical connectors for the fans and stuff back in, and remount all the wire loom holders onto the fan shroud. And also these little rubber grommets here on the bottom of the radiator, they have to mount into these little holes at the bottom of the core support down there. So you make sure those are lined up. So you're going to lower the radiator down into position, take your time, and you're going to watch for anything snagging on it. And you're just going to lower it down until those rubber grommets land into the holes in the bottom of the core support. So once you get the radiator into position, then you're going to take the 2 top brackets here with the rubber grommets, and they go around the top of the radiator here, and they mount onto the core support. So you'll put those on, and then you'll tighten the 2 bolts down. Now we're going to go back underneath, make sure everything is plugged in, and then we're going to re-secure this plastic shield here with the clips. Now you want to make sure all these brackets here at the top are tight, and the radiator is now secure into the car. And now what we're going to do is go ahead and make sure all the fans are plugged in, and then all the lines are hooked up to it. And we can go ahead and install the lower hose here onto the thermostat. So it mounts onto the thermostat housing right there, and bolt that up. And then we can go ahead and install the upper radiator hose onto the outlet. I recommend using new hose clamps. After that, you can go ahead and install this little plastic clamp that held the hoses together. Reposition the air snorkel here back into place, and then also put this little plastic cover that went over the top back on with the 2 clips. So when you go to put this air snorkel on, there's a little hash mark right here, and then there's a hash mark below that they line up, and you line those 2 up and you push the snorkel on. Now with those installed, you can go ahead and put the lower battery tray back in, and then go ahead and put the battery in and reinstall the hold downs. And the hold downs mount into these little holes here at the bottom of the battery tray, and that's what holds them on, the J-hooks hook in there. So go ahead and put your battery in, start the cables, remount your hold down. Now you can go ahead and put these plastic covers back on and resecure them with the clips. Now we're ready to fill the vehicle up with 50-50 mix Honda approved coolant. It's a blue color coolant. So you want to go ahead and fill the radiator up now, and you also want to fill the overflow bottle here to the full line with the coolant. And now you're going to start the vehicle and let it run. I have the AC and all the accessories turned off. I just had the vehicle running. We're going to run the car for about 10 to 15 minutes until this lower hose or the thermostat here opens up. You'll feel that hose get warm. It'll go from cold to warm or hot. And then you know the thermostat opens up. You also want to let it run long enough where the cooling fans will cycle on. And then the level may drop. You may have to top it off depending on if you have an overflow bottle like this or not. If you don't, the level may drop, so keep an eye on that. And once you get that topped off, you can go ahead and test drive it. I also recommend getting a new radiator cap. I'll link this up in the description of the video along with all the other parts and tools that I use. I'm Brian Esser from How to Automotive. I'd like to thank you guys for watching my videos. Encourage you to subscribe. Invite you to head over to the howtoautomotive.com website for more valuable videos like this. And I'd like to thank you again for watching.